What's popping, y'all, and happy holidays! Welcome back to a brand new episode here at Kira Live Podcast. If you're just tuning in, this is the 12 Days of Christmas holiday special, and this is actually our very last episode from this special. So I hope you get a lot from today's interview. But before we begin, as usual, remember to follow all my social media platforms and also subscribe where you can actually subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a DM. I'll actually reply to you when I get your message. So today's guest, ladies and gentlemen, is the founder and president of Etiquette and Style by Dupree, otherwise known as ESD, an etiquette training and coaching company based in Houston, Texas, with a mission to help young people and business professionals get ahead with good manners. She is also the author of two amazing books, Whose Fork Is It Anyway? And Straight Up from the Teacup. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the wonderful, the amazing Toni Dupree. Toni, thank you so much for joining us here on Caroline.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the interview. It's been a few, like days or one whole week where we were trying to get everything situated.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. At least we are here right now and we can get this episode running for the viewers at home who will be listening.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so before we begin into your career, please tell us a little bit about your story. Who is Toni Dupree?
So I am from Houston, Texas. Grew up as an only child. I got into etiquette as a child, actually, my mother had me in charm in etiquette classes, and I kind of, I guess it just took, it caught on, and I went to college. I enjoy most things that most people like, and that's having a good time, hanging around my friends and making people laugh. Just pretty much an average Joe.
So you're the founder and president of Etiquette and Style by Dupree, which is based in Houston.
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit about this. Is this your full-time career or is this a side thing that you do?
Well, actually, it is my full-time career because I write and I have actually three books. One is a co-author book and the other is the Dining Etiquette Guide. And then I have Straight Up from the Teacup, which is my latest book. So I do a few things along with etiquette. Etiquette is, it has taken on a life of its own. Like I said, I started in 2006 and I was offering classes for children back to school etiquette camp. And it was a side business when I started. And then it kind of quit my job in 2015 to run my business. I quit my job. There were still other things that I was doing. Like at the time, I was a trainer for Clinique Cosmetics. And it was still my side business, but it was growing into my full-time business. And then one thing led to another, and things kind of flipped. My full business and my side business had to do with the things that I do associated with behavior and personal development because I am at a middle school, and I work with children during the day.
Toni, you've mentioned you've authored two books. Whose Fork Is It Anyway? And Straight Up from the Teacup, right?
Mm-hmm. And then the co-author book is titled There's Life After. It's where 10 authors tell their stories of whatever they had to overcome. So my story was about losing my mother. I lost my mother in 2011. She had kidney failure. And again, earlier I said I'm an only child, so it was a pretty hard loss. So I talked about the steps that I to get to where I am, a healthier place. And where my mother's loss is my greatest memory, like her time living, was I use that as fuel for my business and everything else that I have to do.
What inspired you to write the two books, Whose Fork Is It Anyway and Straight Up from the Teacup?
So, Whose Fork Is It Anyway was really because I had a lot of clients who asked me, what can I do to stop my kids from putting their elbows on the table? What can I do to stop, my kids from, misbehaving and having inappropriate conversation at the table? So I had a PowerPoint called Whose Spark Is It Anyway? And I figured if I put it in a book, I could help people all around the world. I can't be everywhere, of course, but what I can do is have a message or information that carries over forever that will help people communicate with their children better and make dining a lot easier process. So that was the reason for Whose Spark Is It Anyway? I wrote Straight Up from the Teacup because simply we are not the greatest communicators. We, in our personal lives, there's these words that hang over, that hover over, our relationships, like expectation, or the things about people having hold on another person, or these things that stop you from being wonderful in your engagements. You're too busy, most of us are too busy thinking about an expectation of another person instead of allowing things to be organic. And so I thought if I wrote Straight Up from the Teacup and approached it with the thought in mind of separating everything from personal relationships to our business relationships to how we think about ourselves and present ourselves, this might be a little easier process as well when you are developing a relationship. So that was the thought process behind the book. And it
That's
also,
amazing.
well, thank you. But I like Straight Up from the Teacup so much because each chapter is named after a tea. And how you approach your engagement. Sometimes if you have to have hard communication with somebody, you may want to have it over a pot of tea, and it will ease it, and maybe it won't land on either person harshly, over tea.
And Toni, it's true that etiquette and style and manners is not limited to the sophisticated or the rich only. So, what are some etiquette things that people can do or style that people can have every day of their lives, even for normal people who are not rich or sophisticated?
So etiquette is just code of behaviors. That's it. Best practice. It is a group of options that you have in your arsenal when you are, because we're not just dealing with people in our house. We're not just dealing with our friends. There's an etiquette to approaching each relationship that you find yourself in. For example, if I meet a friend of mine's other friends, I can't treat those people like I treat my friend. So there's an etiquette to be introduced into a situation. So when you think about etiquette, you're just thinking best practice. It doesn't have anything to do with, first of all, what economic level you're on. It is how you want to present yourself in different situations. There are certain things out of life that we want. There's a certain communication that goes when we are expressing those things that we want. You have to think about, if I'm just from texting, a lot of times people use broken language when they're texting. Well, if you're sending an email to someone, giving them information, or they're giving you information, if it's all broken up, you're not going to understand it. Those are two different situations. and there is a when and there's a time and a place for everything. That doesn't mean that you have to scrap all your comfort. It just means that you need a few things, options in your arsenal that you can use at any given time. And I think that's for all of us, no matter what economic level you're on.
What are some of the great resources that have helped you along the way? Because you're teaching people how to have etiquette, to have style, to have manners in each and every day of their life. So, what helps you to teach them and for them to learn too?
So what helps me is the result. So with each etiquette lesson, I learn something too. I learn something better about myself. My range is more defined. So I have something that I'm taking to the next situation. My I learn from what's around me when I'm watching other people engage. I'm thinking about how I engage, or if I'm listening to people talk to one another, I'm thinking about how I can sharpen my communication. I'm always taking mental notes. It can be, my mother used to have this thing that she would say, and it was, you can learn from a fool, even if it's learning what not to do. So you use the things that are around you. Because if we didn't have TV, if we didn't have books, if we just had each other, you know how you feel in a situation with another person. You can hear two people talk. Well, let me say it like this. You don't even have to hear the conversation. You can watch the interaction between two other people and think about how you feel watching that exchange. If it lands on you very well, then that's something that you can take and add to what you're already doing. If it doesn't land on you very well, you can change some of the things. If you see yourself in that communication, you can change. So my point is, you can learn from anything. Animals, how animals interact. They don't even talk, but there's a pecking order that they know when to stop, they know when to start, they know when to move in a pack, they know when that is not for them. But the key to anything, and mostly etiquette is about being present. So that doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It matters about how much attention you're going to pay to whatever situation that you're in, whether you want something from it or whether you're given to it, because you have to be present in order to know what to give and what to receive from that situation. I hope I didn't go too long on that, but does that?
It's okay.
So this is the thing. I'm less passionate about talking about myself and more passionate about talking about how we engage and how we can do that better. And I mean, I just light up whenever I'm talking about best practice and etiquette, and I think that's how it should be, because it's not even about putting your best foot forward. It's not. It's about being the best and putting that forward every day. Even if you're at home, if you're around your family. My mother used to say something else. She would say, you don't get so comfortable that you take your shoes off and put your feet up and then you're finished with your day. I totally agree with that. That doesn't mean that you're not comfortable in your situation. That means that you're not taking your situation for granted. Okay, so I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna keep going on.
Toni, you have graduated from Interior Arts School of Designer and you have 23 years experience in interior designing. How did you even find yourself in etiquette and style if you did interior designing?
So the thing about that is, when I was a child, I always wanted to be, well, let me say this, I always wanted to make life beautiful.
Mhm.
So I was drawn to interior design. I like a beautiful environment. And even as a child, I love beautiful things, like whether it is home accessories or draperies or pillows or anything dealing with that. If it's clothes, I love everything. The whole put together of an individual, I love that. When I was little and people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would say, I don't know. I just know I want to make life beautiful. And I didn't know what that was, But as I grew up, I gravitated to interior design when I was a teenager. I just knew I wanted to decorate houses, and I did that for 23 years. I loved it, and I thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life. 9/11 happened, and it changed everything, for the small business, because at the time of 9/11, I had a small design business called Step by Step Interiors. And I contracted people out, like if I needed to take people with me and it needed to do painting or I needed people to sew, I just contracted the work out. Well, when 9/11 happened, I went back to what I call real work. That's when you work for somebody else and they pay you what they feel that you deserve. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it because people are really mean today. Like when they ask you to do something, it's an expectation. If it's not, a lot of times people wake up on the wrong side of the bed. They're unprepared for their day, but the expectation is that you make up for it. In a work setting, there's a disrespect regarding what economic level somebody is on in their job. I feel like this: when you're at work, it takes everybody to keep a wheel turning. So that means everybody's important. That doesn't mean that you have to kiss butt. What it means is that you're giving everybody respect. It's not their due respect based on how much money they make or what their titles are. It is human respect. And that was what, at this company where I work, it just wasn't that. I mean, it was a lot of stress. And I remember telling my mother, I love being able to work. I hate working with people because they're so mean and they don't know how to talk to each other. So she had this thing where she would say, well, don't bring a problem without a solution. So I took that time and put together interior art school. Put together what I wanted to do as an etiquette coach. I wanted to do something different to make people think about how they interact with each other. So it went from making environment beautiful to making people beautiful from within out, if that makes sense.
It does, actually. What is one thing, Toni, you wish you would have known before you began your career?
What is one thing I should have known?
You wish you would have known.
Oh, I wish I would have known. Oh, that is a great question. I wish I would have known that it was financial suicide to run my business out of pocket. Because I say that because I just didn't know to get a loan. I didn't. I did not know when I started Etiquette and Style, I started from my heart. I didn't start it thinking that it was a business. Like, I started with what I could do in mind. Like, I can make this better. I can fix this. I can change this. That's how I started. I didn't start thinking, well, this is going to be a business, it's going to supplement my income, or it's going to have me not working for anybody for the rest of my life. I didn't even think like that. I only thought about these little people who look like me and why they look so sad, like they can't own their place in the world. When you see a lot of young people today, they look worn. They don't look happy and free. I remember when I was young, I was happy. I was running around. I didn't have a clue in the world, but because I was just enjoying the life that I was living. Well, I see a lot of young people, and even working at the middle school now, there's a lot of things that children have to worry about that I know I didn't have to worry about when I was young. And I had that in mind when I opened my business. So I didn't open it thinking about me. I opened it thinking about the world. And I wish I had known that actually I could do both or that I should do both. But honestly, I don't regret it because I think things turn out the way that they're supposed to turn out. Because, like I said, I've been in business since 2006. I'm still excited about workshops. I'm still excited about speaking engagements. I am humbled when people ask me to come and speak to their groups. Like, I get chills and excited, like, oh my goodness, they want me. And I think that's how you should be about your job or responsibility, not about you. It's about the message that you bring. And so if I had known differently, I don't know if I would have this same perspective, but that would be the one thing that I wish I knew. I guess you say, "Ooh, Toni, you talk so much." That's
It's okay. I understand because I talk too much too, and people say that. They say that I talk too much.
you can ask me questions about me all day long, like what's your favorite color? You know, what do you enjoy doing? I can answer those questions. That's just fine. But if you ask me, hey, tell me about yourself, I'm like, who cares? I don't know what to say about me. But if you ask me about my business and my passion, I can go on for days and you'll be like, oh, I wish I wasn't interviewing her. Ugh.
And Toni, have you had any failures along the way?
Of course, yes. So one of the hiccups with working for yourself and leading with your passion is you're not thinking about the money. You know, you're not thinking about how much you should charge. For one of my greatest disadvantages is that I do lead with my heart, and I would say this is what I would do. Well, I'm working full time. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay. I'll just do it. That is not good. And that is so then when you are doing your taxes at the end of the year or you have to meet with your CPA, you're pretty much bankrupt in your business because you're not charging appropriately. And then you can't eat. You understand what I mean? So you're not
Yes, I
able to
understand.
take care of yourself fully because you haven't thought with you in mind. You've only thought with the people in mind. But you're still challenged by being fair. That word, FAIR, fair, is a tough word when you are an entrepreneur. And it will cause you to fail because you're so busy being fair. So when my mom passed in 2011, I lost I lost my house. I was not operating in my business because I wasn't making any income, and it was easy to stop operating in my business because I was taking care of my mother who was sick. But the good thing is I had savings. Well, that savings was to sustain myself and my mother. Okay. Well, had I been charging appropriately in my business, I may not have lost my house. I, may not have had to be, in my car for 2 weeks before I could get a place. You know, there are a few things that you look back and yes, you have a hand in. And initially, it's great to think with people in mind. It is. But it's not when you discount yourself. Now, I have no regrets. I would do it all because what I see how my business is developing is just the way it's supposed to develop, slow and steady. I didn't have to file bankruptcy or lose my actual business. What I had to do was put it to the side and take care of some real situations, meaning I had to get a job, and I wasn't able to work in my business because I couldn't afford it. Because again, I I fund everything out of pocket. So because of the loss, in my mother, and I took care of her medical, and those things that she needed, you do have to put that on the shelf. Well, that caused me to fail in a lot of aspects. There are other things where, when you're rebuilding your business and you go out for things, you're not really prepared because you have loss on your shoulder and more loss on your shoulder because now everything counts. So then you have to regroup and focus on what's really important. What did I start this business for? Who did I have in mind? Who do I have to take care of? Well, I have to take care of me. I started with people in mind, people who need my services. So when I rebuilt, this time I rebuilt the business with me in mind as well. Does that make sense, or was that too?
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
It
okay.
does make sense.
Okay. So that was a great failure. When you have to start completely over and you realize you have to change the way you think about your business approach. That's a lot of stuff that you have to do all at one time. And I wanted to quit this business like 9,000 times because it was so hard. And I cried so much over etiquette and style because there were things that I wanted to do that, I wasn't at the place to do. There was still some more growth and building that I needed to do. And the key was to be patient because I'm going to hit all those marks. I just have to understand that for me, it's slow and steady. And once you realize what your path is, it doesn't really make it that. You can look back and that's your story. I say the life you live it well because it's the greatest story you'll ever tell. That is, I think about that for myself and I share that with other people.
That's very inspiring. And I think some people actually can relate to this situation that you've thoroughly explained because some people could start businesses today, but since they don't know anything about it, they end up getting losses instead of profits. Some
Right.
people tend to invest too much into it and they don't get results from it. Some people tend to listen to other people's advice that don't go so well. So it's understandable and it's actually quite normal that people should understand that starting a business can have its own challenges, and throughout your business you can also have challenges, right?
Right. Right. You're going to have challenges. You're correct. You are. And it's how you get through them. It's not just, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't have done this. This was a bad idea. It's not working out. No, if you are living, it's working. It's only not working when you're not living. So you're going to have experiences that don't work out. It's how you get through them.
Toni, I might be 19, but there's something I always tell myself, and it's something that my parents have always told me. It's okay to be clueless. So,
Right.
and even though it's okay to be clueless, and even though some people might pretend that they're picture perfect and they know everything, the truth is deep down, they know that they know absolutely nothing. So, in terms of you, have you had a moment in your career where you were like, Toni, what am I really doing here? I have no idea. Have you had those kind of moments where you just look at the mirror and the mirror tells you, Toni, you're totally clueless. What are we doing today?
When I added the aspect of writing to my business, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was dead broke, like I was at a negative zero, like I had nothing, no money, no money. And when I tell you, I was darn near eating out of the trash can. That was when all this loss happened that I just talked about. And I said, God, you have instilled in us all we need to be purposeful and to be successful. If the money is here around me, in me, somewhere, by me, please show me. And I promise you, I heard write a book. And I was like, no, I do not know how to write a book. That's not, I never wanted to write a book. So it kept facing me. And I kept telling people, I don't know what I'm doing. And this lady said, I know you have something like some work that you have. Show me that. And I said, well, I have a PowerPoint. That was when I wrote the first book, the first individual book, because I have that one that's a co-author book. But the first individual book, I said, oh man, I have a PowerPoint. I can show you that. I showed the lady the PowerPoint. She said, this is your book. And I was like, no, it is not. It's a PowerPoint. So she said, just write it and I'll tell you. I started writing that and I had that question that you just said. What are you doing? You know, yes, you need money, but are you serious? Are you serious? Think that you're gonna be an author? This is what you're gonna be? And I just wrote. I wrote and I sent it to the lady and she said, this is great, except for it reads like a manual. It needs a story. You need to tell a story. And I was like, I don't know how to tell a story. Little did I know that talking to people all the time, because that's what I do. I talk to people all the time. I do know how to tell a story. I'm telling my story every day that I talk to somebody. When I'm talking about myself, I'm telling my story. And I wrote it, and the lady said, this is good. But when I started, please understand, I did not know. I kept thinking, well, is this book supposed to have some kind of plot? Or is this supposed to have, a pragmatist, all this kind of stuff? I was like, what am I doing? I feel so stupid. But I wrote it, and it was a bestseller. But I wrote it based on my knowledge of content for etiquette. You see what I mean? Because it was now I have never written a novel, and that is not my wheelhouse to write a novel. But for my focus and content is I don't like self-help. I don't like that title self-help, but I understand what it means and I fit into that genre. That's now I can say that yes, I'm a writer. I've gotten some accolades for it and everything, and I have 2 bestsellers. So yes, I understand that I can write. But am I still developing my craft? Of course, because I think every day I'm developing my craft as an etiquette coach, as a writer, speaker, and everything. As you can see, I still need development because I don't like to talk about myself, so I still need to work on that.
It's worked out okay. Toni, if my listeners can hear you right, I personally know that your mother and the Almighty are your major inspiration in life. But who are other 3 people who have been an influence to you in your life and in your career?
Mm. So I have a mentor. My mentor, her name is Lou Bear, and I always call her the Oprah of etiquette. That ever since I met her, and let me tell you, I reached out to her because when I was starting my etiquette business, I I I felt like I needed a mentor, because this is something that I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, of course, I've taken etiquette and charm. I had taken etiquette and charm, but putting a business together was something where you needed to call in the big guns. And so I went online and I looked for people, and she sparked my interest. Her business model and reading about her was very impressive. Not because I wanted to be her, but if I'm going to learn from somebody, I want to learn from the best. So I contacted her. Do you know she emailed me immediately? Immediately. And she is busy and she does a lot. Like to my 3 books, she has like probably 30. And she's amazing and she poured into me. That's one. The other person is somebody I used to work with when I said I worked at the meanest company in the world. Uh, he and at the time he was a manager, And he told me his story, and it stuck with me. It stuck with me all my life because every time something difficult happened, I always thought about it because I'm a leaver. Like I'm a person that if something like when I was younger and I was like, I'm not doing this. This isn't making sense. It's crazy. I didn't think about at the time when I was younger, well, maybe this is not something that you get, like something tangible that you get from this environment. Maybe knowledge, maybe a little more wisdom is what you get from this environment. So maybe you don't want to leave so quick. I wasn't thinking like that when I was younger. I was like, I'm not doing this. It's crazy. And these people are crazy and whatever. So when you're younger, you're quick about it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, no. Mm-mm. But when you get older, you start thinking processes through a little bit better. Like, okay, I may not be able to get anything tangible from this situation. Meaning, I may not get a big check from this situation, but the wealth of knowledge that I receive will be far greater going forward. Well, this person, when he told me his story about he worked for the same company that I worked for, and he was completely demoted, like all the way back down. Well, today he is deputy director of that company, meaning he stayed with that same company the whole time and faced those people every day to build himself back up. That's very inspiring to somebody who is a leader. You understand what I mean? Because
I
when this
understand.
gets hard, I can't leave. When I have a difficult client, I can't say, you know what? I'm not your etiquette coach no more. You need to find somebody else. Or here's a referral. I'm done. You can't do that. And it's not about telling yourself, you know what? I'm going to have staying power. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go anywhere. So that person, he was never my supervisor, but I worked with him at his service center a few times. His name is Anthony Bowie, and he still works for the company. And I tease him about he's been there like 9,000 years. But that story, I always think about it. Another person is my husband currently because he's a very intelligent individual. He like freakishly intelligent with numbers, anything. You can give him like huge numbers and he can add them, subtract them, multiply them, whatever. He's just very, 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 very intelligent. He came from humble beginnings and built himself. I mean, built himself. And he retired as the senior vice president of American General. Those three people sharing their stories and like watching my husband every day, how he manages and the little nuggets that he shared with me has inspired me so greatly that, it's not hard to think in terms of counting up the cost for each, the client as well as myself, if things make sense. And from, Mr. Bowie, the guy that I told you that I work with, how that staying power, how you stay with something, no matter what, it's going to be difficult, but you stay with it. And then Lou, my mentor, Lou Bear, how the dedication to what she believed and what she knew could work. So having those three people share their stories poured into me differently and helped me put a different type of sauce to etiquette, you know. And I have told each of them about their stories and what they've done. and how I use what they shared with me, because I think you should tell people how they impact your life. So those are three people.
Toni, what advice would you give somebody who is trying to pursue the same career path as you have?
Be real easy on yourself. Be really easy on yourself. First, think about what your give is. You know, what it is that you have that can benefit another person or a community of people. Okay? What is your gift? If you gave this to somebody, what is that? And how they can use it. Know that. The second thing is write it down and make it plain for yourself. And it helps you with your elevator pitch. It helps you know what you're doing. It massages everything in where you are a part of it. You're not just doing this, this is you. And then have a little money to the side so you won't have my experience or lose everything because you only thought people minded. So, but most of all, be real easy on yourself. Understand you're going to make mistakes and stay with it. Stay with it. But this is the other thing. You got to love what you do. Because let me tell you, you may have to do it broke. You have to love what you do. So,
and if the things were to turn around and then you went back in time, what advice would you give the younger Toni?
oh, this is so nice because I did a Facebook post about this, and I said what I would say to my younger self. Oh my God, this is a great question. Okay, first, count it all grace. Count it all grace. And use the bad and the good as if it is the most expensive gift that anybody has ever given you. Oh my goodness, tears are welling up in my eyes. Take all of what you have learned, take all of your hurt, all of your disappointment, and turn it into the rawest diamond and present that to somebody else.
You are telling your younger self to find the diamond in the rough.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's so sweet.
Oh my goodness, Phyllis, you made me cry. Great. This is such a great interview. Thank you for teaching me how to talk about myself.
It's my pleasure. It's the magic of Christmas.
It's the magic of Christmas. You know what? I think that's beautiful, and I think you are absolutely correct. I do.
Thank you. And how has etiquette and style as a journey shaped you to who you are today?
Every day, there is not a day that I do not step better, more precise, speak clearer, present myself more fabulously, find my patience in every situation, think before I speak, offer grace and mercy like it is the yummiest dinner that you could ever serve someone. Etiquette has inspired me to be greater as a person to other people than I ever thought I ever could be. It is the most humane work that I have ever done, and I will do it until I die. I will never retire. I will do some aspects of my job because it makes me feel so good. And the results, seeing the results in other people and how they engage, because I had a little bit to do with that, is amazing. It is just amazing.
Toni, you are a very blessed woman, and If the heavens just decided one day to open their gates of blessings and said, Toni will now forever become the richest woman in the world, if money would never ever be an option to you, what would you do every single day?
Every single day, I would
Mm,
bless somebody. I would bless their life if they wanted to start a business, if they wanted to, if they said, I just want to do something for somebody else. I would show them how to do it, and I would bless them with a gift of money, and I would invest it. And of course, in my business, I would send children to school with, scholarships. I would just make life a lot less harder, a lot less harder for
That's
those.
amazing. It is because if every single human on this planet decided to help a neighbor out and that neighbor learned from it, then they help another neighbor. It could be a very huge chain of reaction of helping one neighbor through somebody else, and through the actions of one person, it gives blessings to another.
Yes, because that's what we do. A lot of times people say pay it forward, and it's not always monetary when you're paying it
Mhm.
forward. I knew a lady that she charged for referrals. I would never charge anyone for a referral. I mean, I probably, even having this conversation with you, I'm thinking, I'm sure I don't charge enough. I'm always in trouble with my CPA about, billing and things of that nature. But this is the thing. What what I do, it is like a specialized something, and people gain worth from it. If I could do it for free, I would.
Mhm.
But because of all the other aspects that are attached to your business, you can't. So what I try to do is make it affordable. I mean, even though, I'm an author and, and I have done a lot of things, I'm not
Mhm.
trying to gouge my client. I don't want to be in a situation to do that. I don't want the focus to be on money all the time. I really don't. I just
Mhm.
know that when you are doing what is pleasing to God, man will be okay. That's what I know. And I just live like that. So that doesn't mean that I charge $2 for
Mhm.
my services, but what it does mean is I work with my clients.
So true, Toni. So true. Where do you vision yourself 10 years from now?
Still as an etiquette coach, and I
Mhm.
probably at that point 10 years from now, hopefully I would have between 10 and 20 books. So, I really want, to be honest with you, I
Mhm.
really want next year, starting next year, to start seeing how I can go overseas and do
Mhm.
etiquette in other places. I do travel with my business, but mostly in the States. I would like to
Mhm.
go to foreign places and conduct workshops and do speaking engagements. I would like to be further along in that plan 10 years from now.
That's great, Toni. And with a little bit of faith, your vision will come to a reality.
Oh, thank you. That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've just been a firm believer since I was little. It's how I was brought up. So a little bit of faith is what something my pastor used to tell me when I was in school. Because I did learn in a Presbyterian school, and he used to say that with a little bit of faith, everything is it will come true. Because that's what we be, that's why it makes us believe in God. Faith is what makes us believe in God. We don't see it. So believing in something you can't see will make it come true.
Right. Oh, that I love that. That is true. And that's exactly how faith works.
Exactly. If you're
Yes.
in my shoes, Toni, right now, what questions would you have asked yourself that I possibly maybe did not?
Ask me that one more time.
If you were in my shoes, what questions would you have asked yourself that I possibly may have not asked you?
That's another good question. Possibly, when are you coming to Nairobi, Africa?
When are you coming here?
I'm there. Okay, just know that
Uh-huh.
you have all of my information. You have my phone number. You have Instagram.
Okay.
You have my email. So whenever you want me, I'm there. Okay.
I love asking that question because, like I said, we are not perfect and I don't know everything. So I like to ask my guests this question because maybe they might have wanted to say something and they were waiting for that moment for me to ask them the question, but I maybe did not ask them. So that's why I normally love to ask this towards the end so that they can tell me exactly what I should have asked and didn't ask.
I think you had great lead-ins for me to talk because I talked a long time. You got a
It's
lot of
okay.
editing.
It already takes me about 4 hours to edit 30 minutes of audio, so it will be a while, but it will be worth it in the end.
Oh, well, I'll be waiting to hear.
You will hear it. And where can the listeners find you? Anywhere on social media? Maybe links or websites, maybe?
So my website is dupreeacademy.com. So that's DupreeAcademy.com. And on Facebook, you can just go to Toni Dupree. And on Instagram, I am Etiquette AND. So that's Etiquette ETIQUETTEANDSTYLE. That's on Instagram. I am underscore etiquette.
I will link everything down below so that they can see your social media platforms, your blog, and they can also go and get your books and they read them so that they can learn more from it. But thank you so much for being part
Thank
of
you.
12 Days of Christmas here at Kira Life, Toni.
Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch.
Totally. And happy holidays to you and your family. I hope you have a magical and blessed Christmas this year.
Thank you. And happy holidays to you and yours as well. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap, people. This is the end of the episode and the end of the holiday special. I hope you have learned a lot from today's episode because Toni is an amazing woman. If you'd like to get some of her coaching skills, please contact her. Her details will be in the description down below. You can also contact me and get in touch with her on your behalf. My details are also on the description down below. Please share this season special. It has been an amazing ride with all of you. 12 days, 11 guests. I can't. But just share all around. Tell people that you have been listening to the most amazing guests. Tell them they can find them at Care Life Podcast with me, Candy Rock. I hope to see you on the very last episode next Wednesday so that you can close up 2020 and welcome the brand new year. I'd like to have you guys there, and please leave a comment of what you think about this season. You can also send me a DM of what you think about the guests or the season in general, and I'd like to talk about it on the 30th. It's just a get to know me episode, get to say goodbye episode to 2020. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have learned a lot for the past 2 weeks because I have, and I'd love to see you here next year for a brand new season. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been KR Life Podcast with me, Kenzie Rock, and that's a wrap on 12 Days of Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody!